Hi, today I'm just gonna very quickly show you how I make no soak chickpeas just from dried chickpeas in the Instapot. So I very often now buy my chickpeas dry from Amazon. They just tend to be the best price and most reliable. I find Walmart, I get a lot of other things at Walmart, but they're often sold out of the dried chickpeas for some reason. So I usually store these downstairs in a big plastic tub, but I wanted to bring them upstairs just to show you. And I'm using my big 8-quart Instapot. You could totally use your 6-quart as well, but I like, because I can make a pretty big batch and it doesn't mess up the bottom of the Instapot lid. When I cook beans from dry, it's about the only thing that sometimes kind of leaves a starch layer on the bottom of the lid, and it's not a big deal, but I just would rather not clean that off, so I like to use my big 8-quart. All right, so I'll just show you what I do. All right, so I just filled this with some dried beans, probably almost an inch in depth in the 8-quart. I would do a little less. I usually do about a pound at a time or so in my dry beans in my 6-quart. And I do not bother to soak. You can soak and drain the liquid. That helps if like you know, they cause you abdominal distress, you know, intestinal distress and stuff. That can be helpful. I think it makes them a little bit easier to digest, but I find they cook really well without soaking in the Instapot. So I'm just gonna go ahead and fill this with hot water. All right, so this is about the only step I find people sometimes new to Instapot cooking and cooking beans in particular in the Instapot mess up. You need a lot of water. I tend to cover them with 2 to 3 inches of hot water, as long as you don't go above the max line. You know, you really can't overdo it. You're gonna drain that off anyway. And I find they suck up a lot more water than you'd think. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this. That's probably about good. And let's go turn it on. So if you've been watching this channel for any length of time, you know I love the Instapot. This is one of the reasons I love it. I hated cooking beans on the stovetop. You have to think ahead, soak them for 12 hours, and it always boiled over on me. So I finally stopped doing it. It was such a pain, made such a mess on my stove. With the Instapot, it's just wonderful. You don't really have to plan ahead, other than that it takes a little while to cook and naturally pressure release and stuff, but there's no soaking, and I just find it doesn't make a mess. And so we really love it as a way to have, you know, salt-free, really fresh, tasty beans, cost-effective as well. So we just put the lid on. You see how this part fits into the cutout here, and then turn all the way to the right. It tells you that here. That's how you close. So until it won't move anymore, and then we make sure this is set to sealing so that it can come to pressure versus venting. Venting would be if you want the water to shoot out. We don't want that. We want sealing. So it doesn't click or anything. You just push it as far as you can to the right. All right, and then pretty much the only setting I ever use is pressure cook. The only other one I sometimes use, just recently actually, I started to sometimes make soy yogurt for one of my kids who likes that. But other than that, I use only pressure cook, even though there's all these other functions. I kind of wish Instapot actually made a pot with just this function, because that's all I use. And I think this can sometimes intimidate people, but you'll see it's really, really easy. Even my kids are learning to use it on their own. So we just hit pressure cook, and then you select up or down for the time, and actually it's already set to what I want. I cook things for a long time in the Instapot. I'm not sure a lot of people find you need very little cook time. I don't really. We like our stuff pretty cooked, like pretty soft, I guess, but you'll have to experiment. I use quite a lot of water, and I use quite a lot of cooking time in the Instapot. But what's great is now I don't have to babysit this at all. It just does its thing, and I'll be back once it's fully pressure released. All right, so the Instapot is definitely pressure released now. I've been busy with stuff, and that's totally fine. It can sit here. So it finished cooking 2 hours ago. So I just unlock it, just turn it to the right, take that off, and they're beautifully cooked. You see how much water I put in, and it's just a little bit below the surface. So you really do need a lot of water. All right, I'm just going to show you how I drain. All right, so I just wanted to show you, I just lift the whole thing to the sink just for safety, because obviously it's super hot. And I have this thing that you just clip on to the edge of your pot, and I just absolutely love this. It's usually, sorry, I use 2 hands usually. as a kitchen tool for draining pasta and beans, because it just comes clean. It cleans up really easily compared to, you know, throwing it, like draining this through a colander or a sieve or something. So I really like this, highly recommend it. I'm just going to go ahead and drain the liquid, and then I'll show you what the texture of the beans. Okay, so they came out really beautifully, really nice. And I just usually take, you know, cupfuls of them, couple cups usually, and put them in these individual containers. We can either freeze them, or quite honestly, we almost never do because we eat them fresh. I throw them into recipes, and I just store them in individual containers in the fridge or the freezer. I like to use glass when I can, but sometimes I'm out, so then we use the plastic. And yeah, this serves us really well. Hope you found this helpful.